Shaman's Duels mode might be in early access, but we've already received a balance update. It has only been a short amount of time since the launch of Duels, and it looks like the Hearthstone team is taking care of any imbalance they find within their latest mode. Everything from buffs to Warlock to nerfs to Shaman came in the latest update. With all of these adjustments, it makes us optimistic here that Duels will be one of the most fun and largest updates since Battlegrounds was introduced for what feels like forever ago. In this video, we're going to be looking at all of the changes that just came to Duels and tell you the classes you should be trying and checking out. Before we get into the video, however, make sure to subscribe to the Tempo Strategy YouTube channel for all of the latest and greatest strategy content. We've got Hearthstone, Legends of Runeterra, Shadowverse, you name it, and we've got it. Now with all of those formalities out of the way, let's really look at Hearthstone Duels, shall we? So what changes came to Duels? First, there were 6 active treasures changed: Party Portal, Amalgamate, Spyglass, Canopic Jars, Wish, and Pure Cold. 1 passive treasure changed: Crystal Gem, 2 class treasures, and 4 hero power adjustments for Rogue, Shaman, Warlock, and Warrior. For the active treasures, Party Portal now has 2 less health, Amalgamate costs 0 instead of 1, Spyglass cost 1 instead of 2, Canopic Jars cost 5 instead of 4, Wish costs 10 instead of 11, and Pure Cold costs 5 instead of 6. The passive treasure Crystal Gem now gives you an extra mana crystal for the first 2 turns instead of being ramped for the first turn only. The 2 signature class cards changed are Demon Hunter's Summoning Ritual, now costing 5 mana instead of 4, and Rogue's Deadly Weapons 101, now giving +2/+2 instead of +2/+1. Lastly, the 4 adjustments to hero powers are Shaman's Totemic Power only summoning a non-basic totem instead of both a basic and non-basic when overloaded, Dark Arts for Warlock costs 1 mana instead of 2, Rogue's Roguish Maneuvers cost 1 instead of 2, and lastly, Warrior's No Guise, No Glory costs 1 instead of 2 as well. All of these are the changes that we found inside of the latest update. While it's an extensive list, it's sure to have changed the Duels mode. Before we give context to the changes, we need to look at why these changes occurred. Some of the more obvious ones come from the class changes, so let's look at that first. The hero power changes were from 2 mana to 1 mana, which helps all of the weaker classes that were struggling in the past. Both Rogue and Warlock were considered jokes for the most part when it came to being selected. Nobody in their right mind wanted to play Warlock in Duels. It was one of the harder classes to do well with just because its hero power was so underwhelming. The exact same could be said for Rogue as well. Rogue had a very difficult time activating its hero power since it not only needed 2 spare mana, but also needed to combo the hero power to get maximum value. When it comes to the Warrior change, Warrior's hero power was okay but not great, and now that it only costs 1 mana, it's much more flexible and feels powerful to use. The last hero power adjusted was Shaman's, one that we can all agree probably needed to be toned down by a lot. Shaman was very oppressive, being able to summon virtually 2 decent minions per turn every turn for just 2 mana. No other class had this same level of board development while also generating powerful effects like Trick Totem or Mana Tide Totem. When it comes to the treasures, all of the ones that were buffed were just far too weak. Amalgamation, Pure Cold, and Spyglass were never picked. Wish was too difficult to use without having the right setup, and both Canopic Jars and Party Portal were very powerful in the right classes, especially Canopic Jars and Shaman. The last one to mention before looking at how these changes will affect playability is Crystal Gem, a once terrible passive treasure that rarely was picked unless the other options either didn't fit into the deck or were just simply worse, a hard feat to do. Now let's take a gander at what all these changes could mean. First, it's time to look at the 3 buffed classes. We expect all of these classes to start to see more and more play. Warlock and Warrior will increase in quite a bit of play, while Rogue seems like it will at least be playable and not the worst option. Warlock is probably one of the more significant changes. The ability to discard on turn 1 changes so much of the dynamic of the deck. Players can utilize the coin and 1-drops while flooding the board turn 1 with Silverware Golems or Spiders from Boneweb Egg. This pressure can easily lead to snowball wins, whereas in the past it would require so much more setup. The flexibility in having a 1 mana hero power can't be overstated as well. Warriors will receive a massive boost because of this flexibility as well. It will not feel nearly as bad to use a player's hero power defensively or offensively, since it is so much more flexible being 1 mana. There are a lot of times where that 1 mana can come in hand when it either comes to burst damage, removal, or overall board pressure. In the past, it felt awful to have to utilize 2 mana just to kill a 1 health minion, and now you can do it with ease. Rogue will most likely be the least powerful when adjusted. Personally, we think this hero power seems to be the most fair at 1 mana. You still need to combo to activate the hero power, and having a 2/2 dagger doesn't seem like the most broken thing that you could potentially have, especially when other classes are summoning mana worms, or they used to be summoning 2 totems at once. Going back to Rogue, another boost and benefit that they received was as their signature treasure, Deadly Weapons 101, giving them a much more aggressive tool to their arsenal. Now it doesn't feel as bad to just play this card for 3 mana and start going to town on your opponent's face. That 1 extra durability did help out Rogue quite a bit. Shaman and Demon Hunter will mention together as they both had one of their most powerful tools nerfed, and it definitely needed to happen. Demon Hunter had Summoning Ritual moved up a mana cost, which now means that these large demon boards you see won't happen as soon, a massive boost to more aggressive strategies early on that won't get shut out by one simple coin 4-drop. As for Shaman, come on now, we all knew that hero power was way too good. Think about it, 2 totems in a class with cards like Bloodlust, not to mention one of those totems always had some kind of good effect like draw a card. Those nerfs needed to happen and will make those classes much more fair in the long run. As for all the tools that were nerfed and buffed when it comes to treasures that aren't class specific, most of them were just utterly unplayable, and now they might be worth picking. Amalgamate becomes strong for Death Rattle synergies, Spyglass doesn't feel as bad to pick when it costs less, Wish can now be played in strategies that don't reduce the cost of spells, and Pure Cold seems like it could be a good counter card to weapon classes now that it costs less mana. When it comes to the nerfs, Party Portal could get way too out of hand early and needed to be checked by reducing the health, especially seeing as Warrior's hero power would have been super strong with it. That and Canopic Jars was way too powerful in token-based decks and needed to be knocked back a peg or two, making token strategies not as strong as they once were. The last treasure to look at would be Crystal Gem, a passive treasure that may now be worth picking. It still is weaker than most strategy-based passive treasures, but it doesn't feel as bad to take anymore, especially in more aggressive or early-centric strategies like Rogue. This passive treasure will see a little bit more play for sure, but won't be as strong as a lot of the other treasures. Our brief prediction for how the classes stand would be this order: Tier 1, Mage and Demon Hunter; Tier 2, Warlock, Warrior, Hunter, and Priest; Tier 3, Rogue, Druid, Paladin, and Shaman. The top classes still appear to be Demon Hunter and Mage because they have some of the stronger hero power and cards in their arsenal among the other classes. Tier 2, we see Warlock emerge among the ranks of the other good classes since it now has some very strong synergy with its flexible hero power. Rogue no longer appears to be unplayable and seems on par with the bottom of the barrel classes. Lastly, it's very unfortunate for Shaman, but it appears that it's now on the bottom of the totem pole in both standard and duels for now. Last in this video, we did want to talk about some cards that have the potential for change in the future. Honestly, we're a little surprised that they weren't addressed in this patch. The top candidates for nerfs are Hyper Blaster and Pharaoh's Blade, while the top candidates for buffs are Princess and Butch. These were just 2 for each that made a lot of sense. Princess and Butch cost too much for them to be playable and only fit in specific decks. Those archetypes should probably be rewarded more for being able to draft these cards, but that doesn't appear to be the case. When it comes to Hyper Blaster and Pharaoh's Blade, they have insane synergy with classes, passive treasures, and overall are just way too powerful. Hyper Blaster is free removal at no cost for 4 full turns, while Pharaoh's Blade punishes your opponent for just playing minions. It would be shocking to not see these cards adjusted in the future of Duels. Duels has been a very fun and fast-paced game for Hearthstone. Players have been trying out so many different strategies, and there is so much more content being planned for this game mode. We really can't wait to see everything the Hearthstone team has in store. Were you excited for all these changes? Are there any cards you wish they had adjusted instead? Go ahead and leave a comment down below to give us your thoughts on anything Duels related. Also, while you're commenting, go ahead and give us a thumbs up if you liked this video. We really enjoy providing dedicated Hearthstone fans with weekly content and love to see your support. While you're liking the video, you might as well subscribe for even more content if you haven't already. That wraps it up from us. Hope you're enjoying your duels, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video.